Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
So to get that perfect barbecue, you use wood. Are you sure it's safe? Whatever. We put the lighter fluid on, strike the match, and oh! Should we call the fire department? That might be a good idea.
Hey, good evening, and welcome to the really big Barbecue Central show. This is the show that talks about all things important in the world of barbecue and grilling. The show originates from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city, Bomb City, USA, Cleveland, Ohio, the barbecue capital of the North Coast. No matter what you hear, this is the barbecue capital of the North Coast. I am your program host, Greg Rempe. Happy to have you aboard here on your Tuesday evening's live fire fun and frivolous show. If you want to jump in on the show this evening, here's how you do that.
You can get in touch with the show by sending an email to greg@bbqcentralshow.com or on the Twitter and Instagrams at BBQ Central Show.
Anything else you want to find out about the show can be found at the main website, thebbqcentralshow.com. And here's what's happening in case you didn't get the newsletter coming up in about 13 minutes from now. Originally, it was supposed to be the CEO of Solo Brands. A lot of you might know that to be Solo Stove, whether it be the fire pit or the outdoor camping stove or things like this. However, that is not the case because I have made, as you all well know, an assertive effort to make sure that my guests are going to sound almost as good as me or at least as close as possible for whatever reason, logistically or through non-communication or whatever. The microphone was not procured by one John Maris. And I said, John, we're going to have to reschedule. I can't have you on without sounding tip-top. So he's going to be moved back about a month from now, 4/26. John will be on. We'll talk all about the Solo Brand stuff, and we'll take it from there. However, in his place, because I love to have a backstop, and we're about due for a quarterly visit from the Utah embedded correspondent and the owner of the Salt City barbecue trailer, Rusty Monson, fills in. We will get the quarterly update from Rusty on where he is today. This will be the third visit, so almost a year into quarterly visits since he has ramped up and started the barbecue trailer business. A lot of you love the talks and information that Rusty gives out when we do this, so happy that he could fill in this evening for John. 35 past the hour. One thing that I know for sure over the last 7 years, 5 years, whatever it is, when you mention a kettle-style charcoal grill, inevitably, the next thing out of somebody's mouth, as far as what else would you need to get, tongs, spatula, nonsense, Slow N Sear, Dave Parrish, creator of Slow N Sear, will be back. This is the second time with the show. We'll learn a quick history again about the Slow N Sear, how it came to be. But the company has grown, and I might say grown dramatically. In fact, I will say it, grown dramatically, to the point of not only the Slow N Sear being the flagship product, you now have grills, a couple different kinds, kettle styles, ceramic styles. You have other accessories. It's quite a business. So we'll talk to Dave all about the original Slow N Sear and how the company has grown to what it is today on March 29th of 2022. By the way, as we have seen over the last 16, 18 months, a lot of grill companies are being bought by other grill companies. So perhaps I'll ask Dave a business question or two as far as potentially being purchased or having at least been solicited to entertain a purchase offer. It'll be a great conversation. Dave Parrish, 35 past the first hour, and that'll close it out. Then we'll move to the second hour. And joining me first in the second hour, somebody that lives in Cleveland. Is he going to be in studio? Not this time, maybe next time. When I talk to you about live fire experts and live fire lovers, perhaps one thing doesn't come to your mind. Pulitzer Prize nominated journalists. And that's what this guy is by profession. He's actually had a number of professions. Truck driver, long haul for 15 years. He's been a journalist, award-winning. And again, as I had mentioned, twice a Pulitzer Prize nominated. And by the way, he's here on the west side of Cleveland, I believe, doing, of course, what any former truck driver and journalist would do. He's got a pop-up street taco stand. Puente's Tijuana Tacos. This coming to me, of course, from Dr. Barbecue. Said, hey, you got to have this guy in your show. I know him. Great guest, local Cleveland guy, got a great background. So we'll be talking all sorts of nonsense with Mark Puente, not the least of which, of course, is authentic Mexican food. I will be bringing up the dish. I don't want to talk about it yet. We'll bring it up in the second hour, but I'll be talking about the dish. You know what I'm talking about. And we'll get Mark's expert opinion on it as well. And then closing out the show this evening, there's a product out there right now by Kingsford. I don't know if you're schooled on it or not, but you will be schooled by the end of the show. If you aren't, it's a flavor booster. Does it work in conjunction with charcoal? Can it be used in lieu of charcoal all by itself? I don't know. That's why we're going to have first-timer to the show. By the way, Mark Puente, first-timer to the show. First-timer to the show, Greg Dr. Flame Meyer, lead scientist in the research and development program for Kingsford Charcoal. It's a huge show, and two brand new guests, almost three brand new guests here this evening, but 50% new guests, 50% returning guests, and we are locked and loaded. Your phone calls and emails as you see fit. Don't forget you can follow me socially on all the haunts. You can get me on Facebook and Twitch and YouTube for video feeds. This here this evening. Yeah, here this evening. Also audibly on Clubhouse as well. So I want to start here tonight, and I got a number of emails and direct messages from fans asking why I seem so invested in this whole Traeger versus Green Mountain Grill thing, and why I seem to care so much about the outcome, and why I'm talking about it more than I'm not talking about it with guests that it makes sense to talk about. And it's a big deal to me in a number of ways. First and foremost, I like Jason Baker a lot. Forget the sponsorship. He's been with the show for any number of years. Actually introduced to me by old-time friend of the show, old boy, Chad Ward, when he was a Green Mountain Grill guy. Jason's just a great guy. So that's reason number one I'm invested in this, because I like Jason. Also, I know for a fact, because it was mentioned on my show when it was coming out, that Traeger did not create this Wi-Fi technology stuff for grills that they now have patents on. Go back and check the archives. It's all there. It's dated. Available for your consumption. Green Mountain Grill does a segment on the show talking about this well before Traeger had it on any of their grills, well before they had any patents secured. That's a fact. It is documented on the show. Also, it appears that Green Mountain Grill is the only company in true real risk of being closed down altogether, depending on how the cards fall. By the way, even if they aren't closed down, and that is a real possibility, can you imagine being the company that put this technology on your cooker first, that being Green Mountain Grill, and now, in order to not be closed down, you might have to be forced to pay a royalty to another company that did not create this technology in order for you to stay in business? Does that seem realistic? By the way, in fairness, if Traeger had created this technology and this was going on now, then tough shit for everybody else. Pay up or suffer the consequences, or change your tech so you don't infringe. But that's not what happened here. Everyone knows it. Traeger knows it. Again, I have the audio. So this is why I'm so invested, because it's not just going to affect one company. It has the potential of affecting most of the other pellet cookers out there in the market today. By the way, The world's worst keep secret in live fire cooking right now is that Traeger is launching a new Timberline cooker tomorrow. Allegedly, it's a 1300. It has a cart, an induction side burner. You've seen all the pictures all over social media. You'll see it everywhere tomorrow. And if you are particularly psyched out of your mind about it, I suggest buying the stock, which is 66% less than what it was when it launched. In other words, Barbecue Central Show stock is only $7.57 a share less than Traeger. Of course, the show doesn't actually have stock, but just for reference, we're only that far off. So if you have a 20 in your pocket, you can buy 2 shares of Traeger stock and still have enough money left over to grab a milkshake at the local 5 and dime. All right? Very good. Rusty Monson is in the green room, and I'm going to talk to you about Primo grills. What do we love about ceramic cookers? We love that they're fuel efficient. We love that you can achieve low and slow temperatures for traditional barbecue meats. We love that you can get rip-roaring hot for high-temperature grilling of steaks and other thin cuts. But what's missing in the everyday ceramic lineup? The real ability to do true two-zone cooking. Two-zone cooking, very important to both professionals and backyard cooks alike. It's the easiest way to manage a fire and cook with confidence. However, getting a 2-zone fire in a round ceramic cooker, not very realistic. Why? Because it's round. Enter Primo Grill and their game-changing oval design. The shape gives you the ability to execute 2-zone setups that you desire. It also gives you the other ceramic grill benefits as well. Really, when you break it down, there's more than 60 different ways to configure a Primo cooker, so you're only limited by your culinary imagination. They also have a tremendous amount of accessories to complement the Primo Grill experience. They have new lift hinges. They have new air damps from the top to the bottom. They have a Primo Grill rotisserie accessory. They also have a Primo Grill pizza accessory, and the list goes on. Only sold through dealers, so find one near you. Go to the website, primogrill.com. That's primogrill.com. Find the dealer, check them out, ask all the questions, get educated, and then buy the one that's right for you. Here's the bottom line. Best ceramics in the biz, patented technology, true 2-zone cooking capabilities, multiple sizes, and yes, if you just have to have a round ceramic cooker, they have those as well. But really, get the oval. It's a game changer. You'll love it. Find one near you, primogrill.com. That's primogrill.com, and give them a follow on Facebook and Instagram. Who's ready for a Primo? I'm ready for one. All right, we're back with Rusty Monson right after this. Stick around. Be right back.
You're listening to the #1 most downloaded barbecue and grilling podcast anywhere. The Barbecue Central Show. Broadcasting live from the Barbecue Central Show studios in Cleveland, Ohio. You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
Welcome back. This portion of the show being brought to you by the Barbecue Guru, creators of automatic pit temperature control technology, sellers of ceramic cookers with built-in power draft fans, and accessories to make your barbecue and grilling life easier. Visit bbqguru.com for more information or call 800-288-GURU. The Barbecue Guru continues to be a breakthrough in barbecue technology. My first guest tonight is a Barbecue Central Show embedded correspondent, a championship award-winning pitmaster, and the co-host of the Pitmasters podcast. Also the owner-operator of a newish barbecue trailer. 3 months ago, we talked about how business was going 90 days after getting started, and tonight we get a new 90-day update to track business, revenues, and what new things he's learned over the past quarter that he wants to share with us. So let's go ahead and race to the hotline. And welcome back, none other than Salt City BBQ's pitmaster, Rusty Monson. Hey, Rusty.
Hey, what's going on? Thanks for having me, man.
I appreciate you filling in for me pseudo last minute, but you're a professional's professional. I know you have the gear, and I know you have the desire to continue to disseminate this information that we'll be talking about, because I think you're like a lot of people, Rusty. You find a passion for live fire. You get good at it. You do have a fairly extensive background in the restaurant industry that maybe a lot of us don't have. But like most of us, you feel pretty good about the backyard stuff. You venture out into competitions, and slowly but surely the thought of getting into a brick and mortar or a food truck or trailer business certainly creeps into the mind of the majority of us, but it's actually taking that next step that you did, which is certainly a separator, and that's why I like to have you on here to talk about it. So just to catch everyone up on who's not familiar with the podumentary that we're doing, I made that word up. We're doing this with you. The first interview we talked about getting started and leading up to opening day, which was everything that you were doing prior to getting that first sale. And then the second interview, we talked about those first few months of business and what you were ready for and what you needed to adjust. And tonight, 270 plus days in, Rusty, if you can believe it, we're going to be talking about those last 90 days, which hopefully a lot of business stuff has been going on, and we can chat about that. So take us on a journey over the past 90 days, just from a high-level look back at this point. What have been a few of the biggest wins, and what have been a few of the biggest opportunities that you would like to correct?
Well, what's interesting is there's like kind of a shift. You know, when we talked at first, it was how we opened. It was all that pre stuff. Then we talked the second time. You know, it was a little bit more of those growing pains, getting into, you know, into the swing of things and keep being super overwhelmed. And then now that I'm in a rhythm and I'm feeling like, okay, I had, you know, an event yesterday, a really big one today. I have 2 tomorrow and 1 on Thursday. That would be a super overwhelming thought. And it is in a different way because, one, I'm more prepared. I know what to expect. I'm getting into a rhythm of how much pork, how much ribs, how much sausage to make, all that stuff. Problem is now it's getting overwhelming to the point where it's a lot and I'm by myself and I have help from friends, you know, that need stuff like that. So right now, I would say the past 90 days, it's been getting into a rhythm, but looking at it and going, okay, we're getting busy. Just today I was doing sausage. I got like 5 or 6 calls for, hey, could you come do this? Hey, can you do this? You know, and I was booking things, and it's cool. But the biggest stress right now is actually just the amount that is happening. You know, once you get out there, you get going, people want a little bit of you, you know, and they want you to come over here and go there. And now you're like, oh, wow, I have 6 events this week. I'm cooking by myself. You know, like most people cook for 60 people and they want to die. And I do that every day now, you know, and it's muscle memory. It's good, but it's just a lot. I mean, right now, this is fortunate. I was able to even come on here tonight because normally I'm not available, you know, so it's a lot, you know, that's the biggest win. And I would say the biggest failure of the past 90 days. So it's going to be an interesting next summer. I'll tell you right now.
How are you managing your time day to day then? If you're the one that's doing the cooking and all this other stuff and you're making sausage and you're fielding phone calls, how are you managing that time? In other words, has the trailer vampired more time than you had anticipated, or did you budget accordingly?
It's now we're into the moment of budgeting accordingly, and we have not. I'm getting better at, okay, so tomorrow I have this. I have to cook X amount of briskets. I'm going to put them on tonight. They're going to cook overnight. And I'm going to do that. And so, but as far as like budgeting out time, it's getting better. And I think that's the step now is to really dial that part in. Dial in your processes. I reread a book called Getting Things Done. So I was able to like kind of those things. And that's really, really important is scheduling time. And then, you know, when I was working in the restaurant business, I didn't have a lot of time for my kids, my family. I found myself getting back into that routine. So I've been trying to schedule out time with kids. You know, we were supposed to go on a daddy-daughter date tonight. It didn't work out. But that's, you know, stuff like that. That kind of time needs to be scheduled. Time for yourself needs to be scheduled. I ran into another guy who has a barbecue food trailer in Utah, and he's like, I don't even have time to, you know, watch a TV show. And I'm like, that's, you know, you got to kind of balance yourself that way. And so I'm having a hard time right now. I'm seeing all that food truck creep into my normal life, everyday life, as you know, as it should. You own your own business. It's what happens, but you shouldn't be consumed by it. So it's not only that, but it's also trying to balance out time to get things done, to get things prepped in time for the thing. So I'm not, what it really is staggering things out. So you do all of your sides because you can hold those for 5 to 7 days. Then you have to get certain things done. Sausage can be done way before because you can freeze those and then re-smoke them. So it's getting all those checks and balances right now. And that's kind of what I'm in the middle of, is working all that out. Personal life, not overwhelming myself every day, which seems to be the trend right now, and working through those kinks. That's really the struggle right now.
Is it a simpleton's mindset of me, Rusty, to say, well, you have this barbecue food trailer, this is your business, take a Wednesday off, take a Friday off, just don't schedule anything so you can recoup that life back? Or is it now a struggle of, I can do that, but I can also work that day and make money for the family, make revenue for the company, and now you're at that battle?
Great example is just today. This was my day off, technically. And it's I hate to say it's not days off, it's more hours off at this moment. But when you do, you start thinking to yourself, okay, well, if I get sausage done today and XXX done today, I won't have such a hard day tomorrow. So your day off becomes, well, I can get ahead for tomorrow. Or I can sit down and answer this email or this and work on my food costs and kind of dial some things in and check out my pork, my brisket nachos, because they're 27% food costs right now. How to get those to 25 without scaring off the customers. And all of a sudden I'm down this rabbit hole of checking all of my stuff. And next thing you know, I'm looking up and going, oh man, I can't even watch an episode of Peaky Blinders. I got to go to bed. So days off are becoming that again. And that's what I was saying earlier. It's that balance. I got to be able to find a way to check and say, you know what? And I heard a cool story, a cool saying is, wherever you are is where your head should be. And so if you're at work, keep your head at work. Keep it, you're at work. That's where you should be. Don't worry about anything at home. But when you're at home, that's where your body is. That's where your head should be. You should turn it all off, spend a day to yourself. And that's something I'm trying to learn right now. And I need to get to it real quick.
Rusty Monson joining us here on the show from Salt City BBQ, talking about the food trailer and what it's been like here over the past 90 days. And we've been doing it. This is our third time. You had mentioned it a couple minutes ago as far as staying on top of your costing. To me, that seems to be, as someone who's never done it, the biggest obstacle. If you don't have the experience, this could easily be where a lot of your money gets crapped out or hemorrhages, and maybe you don't even recognize it until it's much too late. So have you been able to stay on top of that and making sure that you're accounting for what needs to be charged out to the customers to make sure that your revenues and profits are where they should be?
Well, in the restaurant business, you need to know where every cent goes. You got to know, if you serve a brisket nacho to someone, I need to know every single piece that goes out to that customer, how much it costs me down to the penny. So fortunately now, there are a whole bunch of options that aren't just restaurant related. Back when I was in restaurants doing all this stuff, we had the Aloha system, and that was all. Now we use Market Man. I'm able to go in there, price out everything, and I upload all my invoices to them. And what they'll do is they'll take that invoice, they'll put it in for me, and then they'll price check for me what it is. So, okay, you got ribs last time, is cheaper now. So then I can go in there and tweak and see what my food costs are now, and I can either raise prices or lower prices. And I can do that real time. And that's really, really a really, really cool tool, because if you're not, a lot of people out there in their food trucks, they're like, well, R&R Barbecue over there, they charge $30 for a rack of ribs. That's what I'm doing. Well, they use much different things than you. They get really good deals because they buy in extreme bulk. You don't have that option. So you need to take that price, dial it down to every penny, figure out what it is, times it by 4, and kind of decide if that's the price you want to go, either more or less than that 4 times. And that's kind of, and then it's a live living being, like if brisket is now I think it was $4.39 a pound last time I bought, then it was up to $4.69. Now, do I want to bump up my, brisket or not? And those things you have to keep on constantly fighting, working on keeping that food cost down to a 25%. I mean, my number's 25%. Your number might be different.
How many events have you done since we last spoke? I mean, you seem to be on pace to do maybe close to 10 this week, but in the last 90 days, how many have you gotten in a roundabout way?
So we're kind of inching into the busy time. So we started in that 90 days doing 2, maybe 3. Now we're doing 3, 4 on average, maybe 5 a week. And so some of those we have a new place here called The Grove, which we can go down and do all day. So technically those are 2 shifts. So if you want to look at it that way, we're doing 6 to 7 a week. And again, I say but it's really me. And that's really, really taxing, but we do a lot. And if you're sitting there doing 2 or 3 events a week and you're like, well, I'm not really making much money, I can't really take this out because my fridge broke. Well, yeah, you only have 2 or 3 events. You have to buy a $5,000 fridge. That's not going to work. So you really have to step up and take as many as on as you can to really see a profit, to really be able to like kind of, bank some money. Otherwise, you just kind of have a hobby at that point. So we're stepping up into the real job area right now, and it's getting interesting. It's like I said, it's balancing the influx of all these people wanting a piece of you, and whether you can do it or not, and learning how to say no. It sucks because you don't want to disappoint someone. Someone calls you up and say, hey, we have this huge event at the Salt Palace, you guys want to go? And I'm like, I have an event, sorry, no. Or I can't do it that week, I have this or whatever. So that's hard. I'm learning how to say no. That's a fun one. That's a hard thing, harder than you think. Really, it's interesting.
Do you try to? Are you going to try and hire somebody, or you really have no ability for help? I mean, it seems like you might burn out here in the next 6 months.
Yeah, and that is definitely the pace I'm on. When I was managing restaurants like Texas Roadhouse, you'd hire someone that was a good fit for you. They had a great personality, they had a good work ethic. You can teach anyone anything. So you look in those qualities of, how hard a worker and how cool are they? How long, how are they going to treat the guests coming in? Now with the trailer, it's a little different because now you prioritize, can I get along with this person? Because I'm in this like 8 by 10, square foot or whatever trailer, and I got to be with them for hours. So it's really more, I had someone come out who it's really just like, hey, come out and let's hang out, let's just chat. And for me, it's, I think what it is like a lobster in water that's boiling. And I don't think I need it until it's too late. And so it's something I should probably get on. And that's the next step, is hiring a staff and getting some people on. And that's kind of what I'm thinking about doing right now. But it's a little challenging because you have to really know that person. You have to want to hang out with them in a small area every day. And they have to be personable. There's a lot to it. So I think I'm trying to avoid that, stress in my life right now. But again, if I don't fix that, that's going to be a big, big problem in the next time we talk.
Rusty Monson joining us here on the show. This is a question I probably should have been asking right from the beginning, just because I think it might be interesting to track over the last 90 days. And if you can recall through the past 2 other conversations, what are the biggest sellers, and does it differ from what the biggest money makers are for the trailer?
It does. So our biggest seller right now is brisket nachos. Everyone loves them. I got a recipe idea from a friend of mine named Jason Cunningham from Trauma Hogs out in Tennessee. And we did it as an event. We thought we needed something that we could push out the window real quick. Turns out it was really, really good. I'm not a big fan of nachos because I hate that cheddar cheese melt, whatever the hell that is.
Yes, 100%.
So we use a white queso with jalapenos in it. And it just kind of changes the whole game. We use our homemade beans. We put coleslaw in it. We do all these things with it. And it's really, really good. And I think it helps because we put it at the top of our menu and people just look at the first thing. And we put, it's our favorite with a star on it. That might help, but we also get a lot of messages. Where are you going to be? I need some nachos. So I would say that's our biggest seller. Funny enough, it's also our biggest food cost. So that's why the sausages come in. That's why pork comes in. That's why we kind of do offset things to make them kind of, balance that out. Because if you're going to have a high menu cost item or a food cost item, you got to sell things that have a really low food cost item to make up for that, because we're trying to whittle that down to 25 without pricing it out. But at the same time, you got to, like, sausage costs us 40 cents. We sell for $6. So that's a good profit margin. So we're able to sell a lot of sausage to make up for the brisket nachos. So yeah, brisket nachos. And it's weird because, you get in a barbecue, you're like, well, I'm going to cook the best ribs and sliced brisket. I'm going to be Aaron Franklin. And Allison's like, can we get some brisket nachos? And I'm like, yeah, I guess I could just open a damn churro shop. Like, there's no pride here. There's no, like, I'm not like the king of the castle. I'm the damn barbecue nacho guy,
You have to give the people what they want. You're not opening a barbecue trailer and cooking stuff that you want. You have to listen to what the customer base dictates, and that's where the bread is going to be buttered. And
you know what? It's cool because we're able to kind of move away from that stuff. And when the people are ribs and barbecue, we're innovating, we're doing new things, and we'll be relevant, down the road. So I think that's a benefit too. So that helps.
You've talked about pricing that you've seen here over the last 90 days, specifically brisket pricing, how you've had to adjust pricing in that regard. Did you have pricing that's guaranteed to people who book advance, let's say graduation parties? Obviously, those things will be coming up here shortly, weddings, rehearsal dinners, things like this. Or is there some type of a caveat that says if food pricing goes above X, then we have to revisit where our cost or our quote is?
Yeah, it's a little bit of that. I quote them on the current prices with a stipulation of that could go higher. And I also let them know, just to be fair, that it could go lower. So we could offer that brisket option a little bit lower in September than we can now. And so, I don't want to gouge anyone if I can help it. But yeah, we set prices right now. Some people just lock it in, say that's what we want. Cool. I just talked to a guy today who booked us out for a couple hundred people, and he just locked in the price and paid us. So it is what it is now. So, it just kind of depends on what the people want. But I do try to give them a fair warning saying, prices are really high. This is what's high. This is what's low. We can do that now, or we can wait and kind of price it out later, but we'll book the date, whatever. I just need X amount of money to, make sure that we can book this and it's okay. So, because a lot of times when you don't do that, then all of a sudden they cancel on you, you could have had so many different options. So we do take half the money down just to make sure that we can go and make some money if they cancel on us.
Have you removed items from the menu because they were too much for you and in turn potentially too much for the customer?
Yes. We did quite a bit of that, actually. Our menu was quite extensive at first, and we had 4 or 5 different sides. We had 3 more protein options, and we cut 3 of those protein options, and we cut 3 of those side options because it's too much. So when you're doing your thing, if you're looking to do a food truck, I always tell people this: your menu dictates everything. Now, I can run that True Food trailer by myself because my menu dictates it. I'm able to have a menu that I can work on my own and get the food out quick on my own, and even quicker with people. So it's really efficient that way. And so when you look at certain things, like, we were thinking about getting a soda machine in there, we could do drinks. And like, nope, that's too much time. If I'm by myself, I can't go getting someone a Dr. Pepper and slice up a rib. Then I'm trying to get to a minute out that window from order, and that messes with that order. And that menu is that. So you have to adjust, and if you don't want to do certain things, you can't do them. You got to look at what's holding you back. What's the rock in that flow, what's messing you up, and cut it. And it doesn't matter. Add it back in when you get help. But right now we just kind of cut it down to a few things just to make it the throughput a lot more efficient.
Plans, goals, fixes over the next 90 days when we come back and revisit.
Hire some help. That's what I need to do. Hire some help, dial in a lot of processes on the trailer. And also in 90 days, honestly, probably looking to either get a new one or a second one. So the business dictates that already. And I can see that becoming an issue next summer. So might as well get on that as soon as we can. And we could definitely use 2 right now. I could definitely put 2 out on the road tomorrow. So that would be nice. But right now it would be dialing what the food that we have, the processes that we have, and getting some more people involved and taking a step back so that maybe I can drop the trailer off, have them work it, and come back and do those emails, get some marketing done, get some certain things that I need to work on that I can't in the day. That would be, oh gosh, just thinking about it makes me want to tear up. So that would be very nice.
So we're writing those down. So when we come back and circle up for a rehash on what these 90 days will actually transpire into, we can see if you've hit any of these goals, fixes, or otherwise. We're talking with Rusty Monson, the pitmaster of Salt City BBQ. And once again, Rusty, you are knocking it out of the park with this specific podumentary, getting a lot of great feedback in the instant chat already. And again, I know there's a lot of folks that have at least been toying around with this, so hearing it firsthand and the struggles that a guy who is literally doing it by himself is going through is really paying dividends, and I appreciate your honesty and everything you help bring to the show. So continued success, and we'll ramp up again, not only at the end of this month, where we're going to be singing our asses off for a real live singer, but in 90 days when we can actually circle back and talk Salt City BBQ trailer business.
Beautiful. I'm excited.
All right. Thank you, my friend.
All right. Thanks. Great having you, bud.
There he is, Rusty Monson. I feel bad taking him away from other stuff that he could be doing. He's very busy, and the good news is this: success, right? If he was like, hey, any Tuesday or any day of the week, I'm available, not busy enough. Now he's pretty busy. That's Rusty Monson from Salt City BBQ talking about the trailer biz. We'll circle back up with him in 90 days and see what he's up to at that point. Dave Parrish is in the green room. We'll get to him here in just 1 second. I'll talk to you quickly about Big Papa Smokers, the one-stop online shop for all things barbecue, a curated selection of only the best outdoor cooking and grilling supplies. We'll get you on the path to better barbecue results in no time. Everything at BigPapaSmokers.com has been pitmaster approved by Sterling Big Papa Ball himself. From the award-winning rubs and sauces to the American-made grills and smokers, Big Papa Smokers has something for every type of outdoor cook and help you become a better outdoor cook on top of that. We all know the rubs and the seasonings. Popular flavors like Sweet Money, Cattle Prod, Cash Cow, all proven winners on the competition circuit and in the backyard. 13 perfectly balanced flavors that transform ordinary meals into extraordinary. They also own Granny's barbecue sauce. So if you're looking for a new go-to sauce or you're tired of what's existing out there, try Granny's. It's a very great flavor all by itself, or a great base sauce that you can tweak. Aside from the premium selection of rubs and sauces, they got cookers. If you're looking for a versatile smoker that's easy to use, check out that Mac 2-star General Pellet Cooker. Big Papa Smokers, the exclusive Mac dealer, even offering special packages. If you're not a fan of the pellet smokers, all right. Take a look at that Old Hickory Ace BP, the only charcoal smoker that Big Papa trusts on his competition trailer. And if you're not sure of what grill you need, call them, 877-828-0727. Or shop their website at bigpapasmokers.com. That's BIGPOPPA smokers.com. We are back with Dave Parrish right after this from Slow N Sear. Stick around.
Howard Stern, Jim Rome, Dan Patrick, and Greg Rempe. The Mountain Rushmore of talk show entertainment. Now, let's get back to the Barbecue Central Show.
And this portion being brought to you by cookinpellets.com, your number one source for quality wood pellets for all your pellet-driven cookers. Visit cookinpellets.com for more information or to purchase or to see what other accessories and products they have to make your cooking life a little bit more smoke-infused. That's cookinpellets.com. We love the Kettle Grill. I've often said that Kettle is the gateway drug to barbecue because of its true versatility. However, since it's not a singular barbecue cooking device, there are some deficiencies that exist. And when deficiencies exist, there is room for innovation. The Smoke and Sear has filled that gap to the point where anyone I talk to these days that has a kettle almost always says they have a Slow N Sear as well. Over the years, the company has grown to offer a wide array of products, and we're going to be talking about that and where the company looks to grow through the rest of the year and beyond. So let's go ahead and race to the hotline and welcome back friend of the show, Dave Parrish. Hey, Dave.
Hey, Greg. Good to see you. How's it going?
I am absolutely happy to see you. It's going fabulously well, and appreciate you making time for the show here this evening. So before we talk about the growth of the company over the past handful of years, and it's certainly been a upward bullet, as they say in the music industry, let's get a quick refresher on the flagship product and how the company got off the ground in the first place.
Sure, you bet. You know, a lot of people know I used to run the Pitmaster Club at AmazingRibs.com, and one of the big things that we would do is field questions from the audience, the readers of the website. They come into the forum and ask questions, and they felt that there was a need with their kettle style grills. And I was talking to one of the moderators one night, Husky, and he runs the Pitmaster Club now. And we came up with the idea of the Slow N Sear, and that was way back in 2014. Sold the first one in 2015. Boxed it in my dining room, and since then we're now global. You know, so it took 7 years, but it's slow, steady growth, and some years really good growth. And, we are today. It's living the dream, living the American dream.
David Parrish joining us here on the show. SN, like the letter, SNSgrills.com is the website if you want to check it out. If you're not familiar, you can see what it all looks like. So if you could, give us a quick breakdown of how the product actually works.
So the Slow N Sear takes a kettle style grill and turns it into a smoker as well as a much better grill. The Slow N Sear has a charcoal basket that, of course, holds your charcoal, and then it has a water reservoir that's vertical. So that vertical water reservoir splits the charcoal from the rest of the grill. So what you end up with is a grill that's about 1/3 direct heat source and then 2/3 indirect. And you can smoke on that indirect side, you can bake, you can roast, you can get to temperatures over, well over 400 or 500 degrees. So you can do a lot on the indirect side. Now on that sear zone, which you're seeing the Slow N Sear right now, and that sear zone gets I think freaking hot is the technical term, but it gets so hot that we actually tell people to spin their grate around and use the cool side of the grate with over the Slow N Sear, because the radiant heat from the charcoal does all the searing. You don't need a hot grate with our Slow N Sear to sear. You're just using heat energy, just radiant heat energy. It's kind of like if you walked outside in the sun and you got sunburned in 1 second because it was so intense. That's the kind of heat you get from the sear zone.
Dave, it's widely seen as the companion accessory to any kettle grill style at this point from any manufacturer. Are you well, you'd mentioned you're selling internationally as well at this point. Are you surprised at how well the product is actually performing? I mean, certainly when you come out with it, you're fitting a need, you're talking to some other guys that are like-minded, and you're like, yeah, this thing's going to be really awesome. But do you think you would have ever gotten to the point where you're at here in 2022?
That's a tough question. I think in the beginning, I was very confident that it was a great product and that it did everything that I could hope for, and a lot of things that the customer needs to, that needs to get out of their kettle grill for it to be a truly all in one wonder kind of cooker. When the first customers got their Slow N Sears and started using them, there's a lot of questions because it works a little bit differently than, we end up teaching a little bit different way to cook in your kettle grill with the Slow N Sear. But after a few weeks, they're loving it, and they're coming back and they're telling us the temperatures are so consistent when I'm smoking. They're so hot when I'm searing. I can't believe how easy everything is. I love it. I love it. I love it. And that was very satisfying to hear. And it was a pinch yourself kind of moment. Like, is this really happening? Is the product really that good? But we've heard it for a while now, so I'm more confident in the performance and and how good the product is. So knowing what I know now, I'm not surprised that it took off, but definitely back then in the beginning, you don't know. You just don't know. You can have a dream, you can have confidence, but that doesn't. It's getting other people to agree with you when they own the product and tell others to go buy it. That's word of mouth is huge for us.
Dave Parrish, the creator of Slow N Sear, joining us here on the show. SNSgrills.com is the website. So, Dave, how soon after the success of Slow N Sear did you start thinking about finding a grill manufacturer that you could partner with to help capture the entire sector? In other words, now you would be able to sell both a grill and a Slow N Sear insert instead of only owning half that space.
It was probably, we've been around about 7 years. It was probably about 4 years ago that we started doing that in earnest. It's the Slow N Sear predominantly goes in Weber a Weber kettle grill. That's the one that's that we see the most from our customers anyway. Um, it's a great grill, but there are aspects of a Weber that don't necessarily that that could be a little bit better with some refinement. So what we did was take all the modifications that we had recommended to our customers to do to their kettles, and we did it to our own. So what we do is this kettle is designed to work perfectly with the Slow and Sear right out of the box with no modification. And it's that kind of value that we're delivering to the customer, between the stainless steel cooking grate, the bale that's on the side, the airflow with the air intake for we call it the smoke hole, so that you don't have to rely on the ash sweep system for air intake, because those holes in the ash sweep it's very hard to fine tune your air intake. So we have the smoke hole that allows you to do that. We have the temperature gauge on the same side as the exhaust vent, so you're reading the indirect cooking temperature instead of the temperature of your fire when you're smoking, so the temperatures are more exact. There's just so many little things that we did that make that grill work so well with the Slow and Sear.
Dave, how long and how arduous of a task is it to find a grill manufacturer that you have confidence in that is going to meet what your expectation is, so you feel confident putting something out onto the market that isn't going to be seen as some POS grill, that is something that can accommodate the real product, which would be the Slow and Sear insert?
Yeah, so we went to China, and we toured the facilities. We get samples. We are it's you have a lot of different companies make your product, and it's important that you're patented when you do that. So anybody that's thinking about doing this, before you start looking for someone to manufacture your product, especially when it's abroad, you need to have either a really solid brand to have a platform to sell your product, or you need to have a patent to prevent other people from making an identical copy of your product. Today there's knockoffs everywhere, and even with patents, we can prevent those from becoming successful enough that they take us over. But luckily we have those patents, and it's still a constant struggle. But anyway, um, it's a lot of just talking to the manufacturers, understanding their processes, getting samples, tweaking the sample, having them make the identical product that you intend to put on the market, not just something close. And it's constantly inspecting the product and staying on top of every container that comes in, and making sure that the quality continues to meet your standards. And if it doesn't, you fail it and you don't ship it. And we strive to always ship the the, an example of the product that we would want in our backyard.
Has that become more of an issue, especially over the last couple of years with the pandemic? I would assume you haven't been able to get over there to do your own in-person quality checks, A, and then B, have you had any issue from a manufacturing standpoint not getting, I mean, I don't imagine these things come with computer chips and some of these other things that have just been short on the globe, but have you run into an issue where you weren't able to get components for manufacturing?
Absolutely. No, it's a constant struggle. The manufacturers abroad are running into the same issues we are here. They've got employee turnover, they've got a rising cost, which they pass through to us. We have been holding tight on our prices as best we can, but we're actually getting ready to raise our prices just a little bit in the next week or two to compensate for that. Very long logistics timelines, and as a small company, it makes it difficult because we have to buy probably 6 months out from the point that we're going to sell that product. And I started this company with a second mortgage and a dining room conversion to pack and ship facility. Um, we don't have investors, and the company, I've paid off that second mortgage, and the company has grown by we're pulling ourselves up by our own bootstraps. So we take the money that we make, we put it back into product, we put it into more employees and bigger and better everything and more products, and we buy inventory, and then we go to market to sell it. And to grow that way, especially when you have a 6-month logistics lead time, is it can be tough, but we're doing it. I feel like we make really good choices and decisions with how we spend our money, and forecasting the expectations of our revenue expectations, and trying to have enough, but not so much that you can't afford what you got, if you know what I mean.
Are you only online from a retail sense?
I would say that the vast majority of our sales are online, either through our website or on Amazon. We've engaged 2 new online retailers this year: Fogo Charcoal, as well as Big Papa Smokers. Shout out to Sebastian and Sterling.
Indeed. He's a huge fan, by the way. I mean, Sterling does not stop talking about how much he loves the Slow N Sear, both the cooker and the insert itself.
I love to hear that. And I think he's got one of all of our cookers now, and he's been saying great things about all of them. So
yeah, no doubt.
It gets us stoked to see that kind of excitement. So we're mostly online. We do wholesale to mom and pops across the states, as well as much more so outside the U.S. We'll ship to a customer and outside the U.S., but we much prefer that they find a local retailer and talk that retailer into having our product on their shelves. Recently, we've made big headway in Australia. So it's every year we try to add retailer, which if you go to S&S Grills and you look at the more information area, where to buy, and you can find either a local mom and pop if you're in the US, or you can find a global retailer close to, if not in, the country that you live in.
Dave, last question before I let you go, and I appreciate the time this evening. There's been a lot of business being transacted here in the live fire community here over the last 16 months or so, and I'm not talking about people buying grills. I'm talking about other barbecue and grilling companies buying other barbecue and grilling companies, or they're private investors, private equity firms, capital firms, all coming in to this industry and gobbling people up. Have you been approached because of the success of your product and you show a track record of stability and growth year over year? Or is that something that you are either interested in or have no interest in at this point?
I like doing what I'm doing. I when I wake up in the morning, I work out of my basement, but I like commuting to work. I like going to work. I like being at work. I love our customer successes when they use our products. I love the fact that we make families and homes happy because they love the food that they make. Have we been approached? No. We've gotten some emails, but those are kind of shady. I don't even know if those are legit. I never respond to those, but we have not been approached. I don't really want to sell, but if somebody offered us stupid money, I would be stupid not to at least think about it. But yeah, I like what I'm doing. We have a great team, and we all enjoy what we're doing, and it's kind of hard to walk away from that. So I just hope to keep living the stream as long as I can.
Dave Parrish has created the Slow N Sear. He's also got grills. He's got a ceramic grill too, if you're interested in that. So make sure that you hit the website, snsgrills.com, all the letters, snsgrills.com. Check it all out and then order if you are ready. Dave, always appreciate the time. Thanks so much for coming back on.
Greg, thanks so much. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
You got it. There he is. Dave Parrish right there. And talk about a guy that had a vision and is now executing the likes that few of us have. Good for you, Dave. And by the way, I talk to Sterling Ball a couple times a week. I'm not just dropping names. He will not stop. I love that grill. I love the S&S insert. It's my favorite. All right, Sterling. I get it. He's a fan. And if he's a fan, then you have to know that it is top line. So check it out if you're not familiar with it, although I'm pretty sure everybody is. All right, we're going to wrap the first hour here in just a second. I'll talk to you quickly about David McDowell, our friend over at David Leans and the Do Wellness program. Look, I've been talking to you about it for months now. Here we are. Yes, Blue Blop, this is live.
We'll do it live.
Yes, we do it live every Tuesday from 9 to 11. Blue Blop
we'll do it live
on Twitch. I've been talking to you for months now about getting in shape, about how hard it is. I know in your mind you want to. Maybe in your mind you've committed that you are going to get in shape. You're just too fat, and you got to get into better shape, and your heart hurts and all this other stuff, but you don't have the mental wherewithal to really engage and commit. This is where David comes in. This dude is ripped. He's peaking all over the place. He eats barbecue just like you and me, except he's making great decisions. He's got the whole thing worked out. He's ready to share his plan with you right now at a discount. Go to davidleans.com/BBQ, davidleans.com/BBQ. You sign up. It's $200 a month. It's not $500 or $600 for a couple check-ins a month and some BS otherwise. He's invested. If you're willing to make the investment, if you're willing to make the commitment, it's David's personal guarantee that if you're honest and you make the effort, you will succeed in losing the fat. And if you're not happy with the results, he'll refund you 100% of your money. davidleans.com/BBQ. That's davidleans.com/BBQ. We're back to wrap the first hour right after this. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Continuing to produce incredibly mediocre content in an exceptionally professional way. You're listening and watching the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
By the way, if you're looking for a great remote thermometer solution for your life, Fireboard 2 is the one you need. Fireboard 2 Dry, Fireboard 2 Pro. Monitor up to 6 different temperatures simultaneously. Connect to Wi-Fi for cloud-based monitoring or connect via Bluetooth. If you have Alexa or the Google Assistant in your home, you're in luck. Fireboard fully integrated with both. Find out more by visiting fireboard.com or call 816-945-2232. That's Fireboard 2, Fireboard 2 Drive, Fireboard 2 Pro, and the Fireboard Spark. Don't forget about that one. Love it. All right, well, we thank David Parrish, last segment, S, all of the letters. S, like Sam. Is it Sam? Sierra, November, Sierra, SNSgrills.com. And it's not just the Slow N Sear product. Now there's grills, kettle-style grills. David said they've fixed what they have thought to be deficiencies in the Weber Kettle Grill. You can now find that in the Slow N Sear grills. And, of course, you can buy it. It comes with a Slow N Sear insert. Away you go. And also, before David Parrish, we had Rusty Monson from Salt City BBQ talking about his last 90 days of operating that barbecue trailer that he has, learning about where he is budgeting his time, how he is budgeting his time, where his food costs are, and what he would like to do over the next 90 days. So when we check in, what is that going to be, around the end of June or so? We'll see if he's hired somebody. We'll see if he's been able to get his costing in line and budget some more time. Maybe hire somebody and get another food trailer, at least on the order, because it sounds like he's ready to do that. Great first hour. If you've missed it, don't worry. We're recording. It'll be in podcast tomorrow. You can take it all in enjoyment at your convenience. But we have a great second hour lined up right now, which we are heading to. So refresh your libations. And we'll be back here shortly. You're listening and watching the Barbecue Central Show on the Barbecue Central Network. Stick around. Be right back.
to Barbecue Central.
Happy to have you aboard here for the really big barbecue show.
Boing. We cook because we have to, and we grill because we want to.
Hit me!
Fine, how's it going?
You have a great show. I'm a big fan.
Boing.
So what seems to be the problem here? This man looks like he's dead, and he's in the crackle. Charbono! It's all about the charbono, dude!
Succulent fish. What?
He ate 2 feet or wieners. Oh, listen, Libertius, shake your face.
I'm shaking like a dog shit peach seeds.
We have top men working on it right now. Top men.
And just like that, we are into the second hour. Welcome aboard. This is the Barbecue Central Show. We talk about live fire, barbecue, and grilling related items. Breaking news, not breaking news, allegedly reporting news, and other such shenanigans. Still to come on this show this evening, we'll be talking with Mark Puente from Puente's Tijuana Tacos, located here in the greater Cleveland area. After Mark, we'll be talking with Greg Dr. Flame Meyer, who is a lead scientist in the research and development portion over at Kingsford Charcoal. Don't forget, you can follow me socially at BBQ Central Show on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Snapchat /BBQ Central Show on Facebook and Twitch for a live video feed. Also /RD Rempe on YouTube for a live video feed if you prefer that. We are also live audibly on Clubhouse, although I'm getting various reports that there's actually no sound in Clubhouse. Not sure how that can be. I see when I talk that my little face is bebopping around. But evidently, that's not working. I don't know. Is that the case? Let's get a quick feedback. I'm inviting Rick Galindo on stage. I don't know Rick. I'm also foregoing my promotion of the best of here, but that's fine. Lance Owens is saying, Lance, by the way, I have to bid you a personal apology for whatever reason when I have you on and only you. I call you Lance Owen. That's not right. It's Owens. It's plural. There's more than one of you. It's Lance Owens. I apologize. I should be calling everybody by their correct name. Joe, I'm inviting you on stage in the clubhouses. Please accept my request. I want to test something out here. And we can make sure that we're all on track. So once I see him pop up, all right, now let's see. Joe, are you there? Interesting. He's there. But there is no sound. I got a great idea. You know what I want to do? Closing the room. Boom. Sorry. Now, because it has already come to pass, make a new title. The Barbecue Central Show Room. And we'll start. Here we go. Let's see if that works. Unmute. Well, it looks like it's the same for me again, but who knows? At least it's fine for people watching on the live video streams. And I know it's recording, so at worst, everybody can get it back on podcast. Hey, by the way, talking about podcasting, you can get an ad-free podcast feed experience through two different places, Patreon or Apple Podcasts. Patreon's at the page, patreon.com/BBQ Central Show. Or if you are an Apple Podcast user, find the show, and then there's a way you can subscribe to an ad-free experience right through the show. There's a little banner. Click on that, and away you go. Coming up on the best moments of the Barbecue Central Show in 10 minutes or less, This week's Best Moment Show featuring one of my favorite competition pitmasters of all time. By the way, sound now working on Clubhouse. Great. One of my favorite competition pitmasters of all time. By the way, this took place April 17th of 2015, so 7 years ago. The pitmaster of Pigskin Barbecue, Scott Nelson. Shim shibbly boo! At that time, Scott was fresh off of a win at a contest that was benefiting Operation Barbecue Relief that previous weekend leading into the show that Tuesday. Of all the pitmasters / guests that I have had on this show, and all the ones that have come and all the ones that have gone, Scott is one that I really miss. I really miss Scotty. Great guy, great family, a really great competition cook when he was out there doing it. The guy was winning a ass load. I remember specifically going out to the second Kingsford Invitational that was in Bell, Missouri. Is that it? Or the Kingsford plant? The middle of nowhere. God even forgot that he made somewhere like that. That's how in the middle of nowhere it was. And he was one of a small handful of teams that was invited at the time to take part in the Kingsford Invitational. Melissa Cookston was out there with the Azoos, who eventually won the whole competition. But Pigskin was there. Lucky's Q was there. The couple that come to my mind. But Scott and his wife Katie, and they had his sons were all there. We took some really cool pictures, and they had me around the camp. It was wonderful. It was so wonderful. I just loved it when they were all out there, and it was great having him on the show. So if you're not familiar with Scott and the type of guy he was, you're really going to enjoy the Best Moments show this Friday, which will be in the feed right there in the morning. So, Scotty, what's up? Hope you, Katie, and the men's are doing well. Don't forget, if you have a guest or a past segment that you would like to hear again that's in the archive, just email John, Jon, John, at thebbqcentralshow.com and let him know what you would like to hear, and he'll do his best to meet your expectation. So just to follow up on some thermostatically controlled grill talk, also to follow up on something that I might have mentioned to Derek Riches last week about things that I was going to follow up on because I had context that maybe he or that he had, or that I had that maybe he did not have. And this was specifically relating to the Charbroil cruise. He had mentioned that in items that he was going to be talking about, or that he was seeing being talked about at the 2022 HPBA Expo out there in Atlanta. So I reached out to my contact over at Winter Products, who is the company that's manufacturing that grill for Charbroil. Although it's not their brain, it's Charbroil's brain, but they're manufacturing the grill, if you're following me. And he wrote to me, we've shipped a bunch of crews already. I'm not sure what the delay is in hitting stores. I do know that most of the mass retail locations like Lowe's, Home Depot, etc., were relatively late setting up this year. Why? What are you waiting for? Spring's still coming. Grilling season still coming. He goes on. Next Grill also has a thermostatically controlled grill that you can see on the Home Depot Canada website, but I've yet to see it at retail or anywhere in the U.S. as well. We're not seeing any supply chain related issue for ourselves, as we're able to pre-purchase material and components for this production season. The only supply chain related issues we've seen have been logistically related, i.e. container space, shipping line space, but nothing in terms of products themselves. I will tell you that we are seeing a lot of slowdown across most factories at the China level in terms of orders and pipeline for the second, third quarter. We believe it's a combination of retailers being full on inventory already, most retailers pulling forward their purchases to before Chinese New Year, some doubt on demand after the economy opens up and consumers start diverting their spending to travel, entertainment, etc. And finally, general impact of retail price changes due to rising product costs, logistics costs, and general inflation overall. I would also add that China's locking down once more. COVID. that's probably going to... Now, I think from when this email was sent to me by the guy at Winter versus when I was seeing portions of China, if not all of China, shutting down again, I don't know where that timeline coincided, but that might have been just after I'd got the email from my source. So that also is probably going to play an issue, at least in production. I know how that works. For me, you take a day off, production gets pushed out. You're taking multiple days off or weeks off. That's not going to help the production schedule. So that's the update on the cruise from my guy at Winter Product. Now, as far as his mention of Next Grill, I have reached out and had conversations with them today. I've also shared, it's called the Nevo, Neevo. You can take a look at that. I've posted it on all of my social media. The unique thing about the Nevo, as we work to have some type of a segment with them, it's a gas grill on one side, and what's on the other side? Side burner, wood fireplace, something other than that. Oh no, it's the item that you always wanted to have integrated with your gas grill, an air fryer. Radio Broadcast Hall of Famer Jimmy Malone is doing backflips. 98.9% of you have no idea who I'm talking about because he's a local Cleveland legend. This is a guy who loves to air fry steaks and is not bashful talking about it. So he has to be doing backflips about it. All right, Mark Puente is in the green room. We'll get to him here in just 1 second. I will talk to you about Green Mountain Grills, some of the best pellet cookers out there on the market today, a Choice line and a Prime line. Choice is the Daniel Boone size. Really good for that medium-sized family if you're not going to be hosting a ton of people, but it gets the job done, no doubt about it. Save you some money, too, because it doesn't have all the bells and whistles. Now, if you want bells and whistles, Prime line, Peak and Ledge. Peak is the big one. Ledge is the comparable Daniel Boone size on the Choice line. However, more of a robust build on the chassis because it's a Prime. You got Peak and windows on the main cooking chamber and pellet hopper. It's got 2 internal meat probes. It also has Wi-Fi connectivity and app controllability. All that fun stuff that we talked about in the first hour. Only sold through dealers, so find one near you, greenmountaingrills.com. Find that dealer, visit the dealer, get educated by the one that best fits your need. I can tell you that between the Peak, Ledge, and the Daniel Boone, all of them accommodate the pizza oven insert. So if you're really into high-heat pizza ovens and doing those style pizzas like the Neo Pies, that's something you're going to pick up as a almost mandatory accessory, that pizza oven insert. GreenMountainGrills.com also has a bunch of other great stuff on the website, pellets, sauces, other accessories to complete the Green Mountain Grill cooking experience. Head over there and check it all out, greenmountaingrills.com. That's greenmountaingrills.com. We are back with Mark Puente right after this. Stick around. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the #1 most downloaded barbecue and grilling podcast anywhere. The Barbecue Central Show. Howard Stern, Jim Rome, Dan Patrick, and Greg Rempe. The Mountain Rushmore of talk show entertainment. Now, let's get back to the Barbecue Central Show.
This portion being brought to you by Smithfield. Head on over to smithfield.com right now for recipes as well as tips and tricks from well-known live fire cooks like Darren Worth, Jess Pryles, Charles Cridland. With mouth-watering flavor and no artificial ingredients, Smithfield Fresh Pork, quite simply some of the finest pork money can buy and a trusted choice of top cooks for use at competitions and at home. That's smithfield.com. Kicking off the second hour tonight is a gentleman with a very diverse background, as we had talked about in the lead of the show. Diverse enough where if we wanted to, we could take the whole segment to talk about that and not food. But that's nonsense. We've teased Mexican flavors on the show a time or two. There's a favorite dish of mine that we'll discuss maybe at the end of the segment. But what about real Mexican street tacos? And more importantly, where does the love of live fire aspect bring into that arena? Here to discuss that and more is the first-time guest and local Clevelander here, the owner of Puente's Tijuana Tacos, Mark Puente, joining me. Hey, Mark.
Hey, Greg, thanks for having me.
Appreciate you joining me here this evening. As I had mentioned in the open here, and then, of course, in the first hour, we could probably talk the next 20 minutes about the background of Mark Puente sans food. Of course, we won't do that, but you have a pretty amazing and diverse background. So let's start, I guess, you graduate high school. Are you somebody that's looking to go to college? Are you looking to get a job right out of high school? Let's start there and then potentially work into food.
At high school, my senior year, I dated my girlfriend then, who's my wife now. She graduated a year after me. Within 13 months, we had 3 kids, twins and another one, son. I got into trucking. It paid well, fed my family for many years. It was a rough life being gone for many weeks at a time on the road. But I wanted better. I wanted to go to college. I just could never do it. So my wife basically enrolled me at Cleveland State, told me quit complaining, go sign up for classes. I did. My intent was to go to law school, but that didn't. I figured it'd be too tough on our family financially. So we ended up moving to North Carolina. I transferred to UNC at Chapel Hill. My intent was to go to law school, but I knew that we couldn't do it financially. So I ended up landing in journalism. There was an ad in the student paper that said reporters wanted. Luckily, the Plain Dealer newspaper in Cleveland offered me an internship. I knock on wood, a few weeks into it, they hired me full time. I worked hard. My career kind of took off, got some attention from other newspapers across the country. And for the next 16 years, we bounced around the country in between Cleveland, Florida, Baltimore, and Los Angeles. Now I'm back in Cleveland. But during that time, ever since I was a young man, 19, 20, I think I bought my first grill. Probably 13 or 14 years ago, I got into meat smoking. From there, it took off. And then I started on the Weber Smoky Mountain. Then I got a green egg, and then I got a Lang. I got a double XL green egg. But now I have a taco business, which incorporates my love of grilling to serve tacos to our customers. So it is a diverse background. It's much different than most people's.
Not to spend too much time on it, but from a journalism standpoint, some people would say, oh, well, Greg, you're the journalist of the live fire industry. And I certainly bow out of that. Very humbled to be talked about in that regard, but I'm certainly no journalist. I'm barely a business major from Ohio University, let alone a journalist here. So you're somebody that's been Pulitzer Prize nominated twice. You've won numerous awards. You've done tremendous investigative work. For wherever you are that are listening here, the I team for whatever news channel was that you, or was it like a deeper level of investigative journalism?
Yeah, it was a pretty deep level. I did high level work in Cleveland. A lot of the corruption stories years ago in Florida, uncovered a lot of a lot of government misspending, a lot of government malfeasance. In Baltimore, I did a lot of government malfeasance there. It was high level investigative work, working on investigative teams. In Los Angeles, I was a finalist for a Pulitzer Prize in 2020 when 34 divers perished in a vessel on Labor Day weekend 2019. So it was high level. I had fun, but I decided to get out of it. But that time in California is what led me here to where I'm at now, and it's influenced my hobbies, which is meat smoking and grilling.
Through those investigations, were you ever threatened, or did you ever fear for your life?
I was threatened a lot of times, but I just kind of took it with a grain of salt. I didn't think anybody would be that foolish enough to do something because all eyes were on them. I did pay attention, but luckily my children at the time were all grown and gone or in college or on their own. So just my wife and myself. So we kind of paid attention, but it didn't deter me from doing my job.
Mark Puente joining me here on the show. The website, by the way, is puentestijuanatacos.com if you want to check it out here while we're talking. So you actually come to me as a recommendation from good friend of this show and Barbecue Hall of Famer, Ray Lampe. So how do you meet Ray, and what's your relationship like?
I knew of Ray when I was working at the Tampa Bay Times, which was then the St. Petersburg Times, because he was in St. Petersburg. And there was a story about him in the paper in the food section, so I picked up one of his books. And then I realized he was a truck driver, so that kind of drew my attention to him. He was a trucker, I was a trucker. So I ended up following some of his stuff, bought the Big Green Egg, talked to him a few times, and we talked occasionally. And that's what led him to you. He tasted my tacos last year before I moved from Florida back to Cleveland, when I did do a pop-up for friends during the pandemic back in August of 20.
He was obviously taken with those tacos. I mean, Ray's, a no-holds-barred kind of guy.
He said he enjoyed them. His only critique was that I was filling them too much. I took that as a compliment.
Yeah, of course. You can't you don't want to fill a taco not too much because then you feel like
Right.
you might be getting gypped. So the passion for tacos comes in your time in LA, and do you take it when you're moving? I guess you went from LA to Florida and then up to Cleveland. Is that the trek?
That's correct. I found a certain style of cooking. I went to taco stands every day for lunch. On the weekends, we stopped at them. And what I found was a certain style of taco making called Tijuana style, which is the proteins are grilled hot and fast over mesquite charcoal, which I kind of fell in love with because of the grilling and the live fire cooking. And I knew all about lump charcoal. And then nothing against taco making on griddles, but it's a distinct flavor that comes off that grill compared to frying it on a griddle. So I really enjoyed that. So I asked my wife, hey, do you mind if I buy all the commercial equipment when we move back to Florida to get it? And she said, yeah. I didn't think at the time she knew that included 110 40-pound bags of charcoal. So it's like 4,400 pounds of charcoal that I put in the nose of a tractor trailer. But that's the key to the tacos. So I'm still working on that pile. But eventually I'll need to get more from California.
And that's the only source of this. To be honest, I think I'm pretty well versed in the industry, and I have my finger on the pulse of a lot of all the fuels. I've never really heard of mesquite charcoal specifically. Is that from a single source out there that you're getting it from?
It comes out of Mexico. I never seen it anywhere east of California or really out west. I've never seen any of the charcoal stores or barbecue stores I've been to. There's lump, but not this mesquite coal. And what attracted me to it when I was walking downtown every day from the parking garage to the Los Angeles Police Headquarters, which I covered, you'd always see caterers cooking for TV shows or commercials. And I always stopped and asked them, hey, where's that charcoal at? It smells pretty good. So they showed it to me and I found out where to buy it at. So I went and cut a deal with a broker. So if I paid cash, how much could I buy and when I move? But it comes out of Mexico and it's different than the lump that's sold in Cleveland at Restaurant Depot or Dean Supply.
We're talking with Mark Puente, owner of Puente's Tijuana Tacos. So now that you are given the green light by the wife to go ahead and start this pop-up, is it easy to get in business or did you stumble quite a bit getting your footing?
It wasn't easy, but given that I covered government agencies and regulatory agencies for years in reporting, I knew how to navigate the waters. There was a lot of hurdles that I didn't realize I had to jump through to get, like a $900 3-compartment sink. Wasn't expecting that one, so I had to get that. But there's lots of rules, and I get it. Food safety is important, and I'm playing by the rules. But it took a little bit amount of time. Luckily, I have family and friends that want to help. My youngest son encouraged me to move back, and he wanted to help with the taco, so he's out there as my main griller for the events.
You leave Florida, you come up to Cleveland. Is it a whole new set of rules up here in Cleveland versus Florida, or were there a lot of similarities? I mean, obviously, local stuff is going to be different from one place to the next, but from a high level, was it a lot the same?
Pretty much the same. Pretty much the same. I didn't get licensed in Florida. I was just doing it for friends and family because the pandemic was still in its early stages. I didn't want to sink the money into I didn't know where we were headed. But once I came back here, I dove all in and licensed now for anywhere in Ohio.
There's a benefit of living in Florida, Mark. I don't know if you realize it, but the weather seems to be really good all year around. However, in Cleveland, as you well know, 7 months out of the year, the winter is around us, or at least the cold weather is around us. So as you're attacking some kind of a business plan, is that something that you have to take into account, or is it like it doesn't matter if it's 30 below or 80 degrees, we're going to do this taco thing?
We haven't had a pop-up yet this year, but we had one in December out on the east side. It was cold, but there is a difference between grilling when it's 96 degrees and humid and serving tacos for 4 hours when everybody's drenched with sweat versus 33 degrees in Carhartt jackets. I'd rather do the 33 degrees in Carhartt jackets. We're going to have a pop-up this Saturday, and it's going to be chilly, but the tacos will be hot.
So from a pop-up business standpoint, are you doing essentially commercial gigs? Or, something that I guess would be akin to a restaurant, but without the brick and mortar surroundings? Or would you come and do a Rempy house party or a graduation thing? What's the business look like?
All of the above. I'm booked now through mid-July, and I didn't know when I, got all in and got all licensed, start advertising. The money's in corporate events and private events. I don't have my calendar in front of me, but I probably have 6 or 7 graduation parties for 100 to 150 people. I've been asked for other private parties, wedding rehearsals, baby showers. So anything like that, I'm willing to do. I can do it all. And the pop-ups are good. We're doing 2 events and public events because I want to get other people there to try it and see it. So I got to balance it.
I was talking to a guy that owns a barbecue trailer out in Utah. First segment in the first hour. We've been tracking him. I call it the Podumentary. We check in with him every 90 days to see how it's going. We've been starting pretty much since he started getting going to open and tracked since then. Obviously, meat prices are all over the board these days. Are you also suffering through that, and have you had to adjust prices accordingly?
I did. I raised the prices for this season because the beef isn't coming down. Chicken's coming down a little bit, but I'm paying attention each week. I'm buying beef, chicken, and chorizo. So I'm not buying, ribeyes, stuff like that, but it's sirloin flap still isn't cheap.
Mark, school me on the finer points of an authentic street taco. What makes it authentic?
Based on what I picked up in California is the Tijuana style. The meat is grilled hot and fast, but it's marinated a certain way. And it took me some time to figure out how they do it in California that way. It's a certain seasoning. It's marinated overnight. But the key to the tacos are the grilling. The two is the tortillas we make fresh on the spot. They're not coming out of a bag in a warehouse that were made 6 months ago in the state. They're made fresh on the spot, and the customers can see that in front of them. People on my team, my friends and family, roll the balls, they press them, and then they go on and griddle, and they take a minute to cook. And there's nothing better than a fresh tortilla on that flaming hot carne asada, chorizo, or chicken with all fresh salsas. So all the salsas, we do red salsa, salsa verde, guacamole salsa with cilantro, onions, and limes and radishes. That's it. There's no cheese like Taco Bell, or there's no sour cream. A lot of people ask, do I do sour cream? I politely say no. This is an authentic Tijuana style taco that comes from the West Coast or in Mexico.
Does that ever cost you deals? People are like, oh, well, then I can't have you come out.
No, but what I've encouraged them, if they want to have that for their customers, they're more than welcome to put it on the table and they can take it. Or for their friends, or relatives.
Yeah. So I had this great follow-up question when we were talking. You had mentioned marinades and spices and stuff. Is that all like Puente secret stuff, or do you talk about that?
It comes out of the West Coast. I'm not going to say this.
Seems like a lot of stuff is coming out of the West Coast, Mark.
Well, unfortunately it is, but it took me a while to go into Carne Sierras and all across Southern California. I was a reporter. I asked lots of questions and I paid attention. I realized where it came from, and then I seen certain boxes and boxes of a certain juice that was sitting there, and I realized what it was, and I asked them, what are you doing with that? And they says, that's the marinade. Then the light went off. It's that simple.
Are you concerned at all that a lot of stuff is coming from the West Coast and that, shipping is going to continue to increase? Or do you think any of the stuff that you're getting from the West Coast now will finally make its way to us here, or at least within the region?
The stuff that I'm buying, the marinade, I've already ordered it. I got it in the commissary kitchen in the cage that I rent. I'm not worried about that. Right now, I've got about 48 bags of charcoal. I'm hoping that gets me to November by the time I go out there for a vacation. But when I do go out there, I'm going to order 300 more bags. I'm going to get it back here when I need it. But everything else out there isn't a problem. I did get concerned late last fall when I couldn't find the certain masa that we use, which I couldn't understand why. But then luckily I had relatives in Michigan, and my mother went hunting for it, and they got it for me.
We talk about business on the show from time to time, Mark, and I'm sure there are people in the audience right now that might be planning a food truck or perhaps a pop-up concept to launch this spring or summer. As you look back to when you were getting your footing, what are the best bits of advice you can give to someone looking to start out on this kind of a project?
Know your product, know what's out there. I went in this kind of blind. I had no experience other than being a griller and an avid meat smoker, but I paid attention because of my career as a journalist asking questions. I did that all the time, and I still do it. But my friends all laughed and joked when I told them I'm bringing all this taco stuff back. They said, oh, a taco's a taco. And I said, no, a taco's not a taco. Until they had it, and then they had egg on their face, and they enjoyed it, and now they say it's the best taco. But there's plenty of competition. I'm not knocking how anybody else cooks their tacos, but our tacos are cooked a certain way that gives it a distinct flavor and taste.
Part of being a successful pop-up or food truck or even restaurant is having the culinary wherewithal, having that expertise to produce the product that perhaps nobody else can around your area, give you that competitive advantage. However, you can be a great cook, but if you suck as a business person, the business is going to go out of business, no matter how good of a cook you are. Did you have to learn how to be a good bookkeeper / costing agent, or was that pretty second nature to you?
It was second nature given my journalism because I'm OCD about records and tracking everything. So I have everything on spreadsheets for every cent I spend on the days, the mileage, everything. Oh. So I know today where I'm at financially, and I'll know after every event that I have.
Something that has been somewhat of a lightning rod on this show for the past few years has been a dish that has been both loved by those that have tried it and scoffed at by those who think it is not traditional Mexican cuisine. So let me ask you, since you are the real expert here, someone who has lived in Cleveland for many years but has also traveled around the country and been in authentic Mexican restaurants and eateries, is chori pollo a real Mexican dish, or is it something of an imposter?
I honestly have no idea what it is other than some sort of chicken. It's not something I've ever seen on a menu in any Mexican restaurant I've been to.
Don't you go to any Mexican restaurants here in Cleveland, Mark?
Well, it's not something I'm going to order.
It's not something?
It's not something that jumps at my mind, and my family's Hispanic.
Let me entice you a little bit. How about some grilled chicken thighs that are cut up, and then some chorizo sausage, and then some cheese, and there's some rice and beans, and then side of tortillas, and you slam it all in there, and you put it in your face. One of my buddies over in San Diego just laughed at me and said, you realize that the people that own that place just put it on there as a joke, and they laugh every time somebody orders it. And I'm like, well, goddamn, it's delicious. I don't know why it's not on every Mexican restaurant ever. And he said it's not authentic. Now, much, much later, he tries it. Now, all of a sudden, it's on a menu item in one of the restaurants that he owns. And people are emailing me all over the place. Are you averse to it? Or perhaps if I took you out, you would try it and give me your honest opinion?
Sure, absolutely.
Yes,
but it's not something that I've ever.
Maybe it's going to be a new Mark Puente taco, chori pollo taco. What do you think?
I'll make it for you if you show up with the chorizo and the chicken.
We're going to put it on the. We'll put it on the permanent menu if it hits, right? Right. Okay.
Then I'll give it credit to you.
If you are interested in coming to Cleveland, you know what? Let me ask you a question here. How far will you travel for a job? If the money's right, are there no bounds?
We did an event from where we live at on the southwest side. I went down 40 miles to Worcester, so the money was right. I got the crew together and we went.
Will you go to Evansville, Indiana?
I'm not licensed there, so no.
Ah, okay. So you'll travel
I can go
where
anywhere
you're
in
licensed.
Ohio.
Got it.
Right.
All right. So if you're coming to Ohio, do this, and you want some really great Mexican street tacos, go to PuentesTijuanaTacos.com. See when the events are. Maybe I'll be there too. We can all meet up and talk with Mark. It'll be a great time. Mark, really appreciate you coming on tonight and opening up about your background and, of course, talking about this business. And I can't wait to hook up with you and try some of these tacos. Really appreciate the time tonight.
Thanks, Greg. I appreciate it. Come to the events next few weeks. The tacos are on me. I appreciate it.
All right. There it is. Mark Puente from Puentes Tijuana Tacos. And again, the website is PuentesTijuanaTacos.com. And, of course, while we glossed over the journalism background, just do a Google on Mark Puente and see what he's involved in, see the stories that he's dug out and brought to light. Very impressive, dare I say. Well, I'm sure the passion is tacos. The professional background is very impressive. So hopefully you enjoyed Mark. We're going to be back with Greg Meyer here in just a second, I hope. I'll talk to you quickly about Yoder Smokers, designing and building all of their products right here in the United States, building pride through craftsmanship and world-class customer service. That's the backbone of how they've built the company. This approach translates into what can be a truly bespoke style product that elevates gatherings with friends and family. Honored to have a trusted place in the backyards of America, from pellet grills to wood-fired offset pits and charcoal grills. Consistent blue ribbon flavor has been synonymous with the Yoder Smokers name. Make no mistake, Yoder Smokers' flavor-driven design is unique to each style of pit, and their team has developed some of the cookers to perform Their team has developed their cookers to perform time and time again while outlasting the competition for generations to come. It's this generational thought that's rooted in the handmade products and defines the integrity of the core values: American-made quality, endless flavor, the benchmarks of Yoder Smokers. Visit yodersmokers.com yodersmokers.com to grab yours today. That's yodersmokers.com. And we are hopefully back with Greg Meyer right after this. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Celebrating over 10 years of prolific and unparalleled live fire barbecue and grilling talk. And yes, it's still being done from Cleveland, Ohio. You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show.
This portion being brought to you by Vortic Watch Company, a small batch custom watch manufacturing and vintage restoration company located in northern Colorado, taking antique American pocket watches and turning them into wrist watches. Each watch that they make is unique and one of a kind. Vortic, founded on the motto that America wasn't assembled, it was built. Check out VorticWatches.com. That's VorticWatches.com. All right, helping me close the show tonight is someone who will be talking about flavor, perhaps in a way you didn't know about or aren't familiar with yet. But by the end of the segment, you'll have a new product to go investigate if it sparks your interest, of course. So let's go ahead and race to the hotline and welcome in a senior scientist from Kingsford Research and Development Arm. We race to the hotline and welcome in first-timer Greg the Flame Meyer. Hey, Greg.
Hey, how's it going, Greg? Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, appreciate you making time. Do we not have video of you this evening? Just want to make sure.
Looks like it's working on my end. Let me just try a different camera and see if I can get that to work.
All right. While you fiddle around with that, and before we start talking about flavor-boosting products, let's go ahead and get a little background on you as we see you right there. Where you grow up, what kind of professional background you have, and where you're based at today.
Sure, yeah. I grew up in New England in the Boston area. About 10 or 12 years ago, I came out to California to go to grad school at the University of California, Santa Barbara. I got my PhD in chemistry there. I've always done something related to science in my career. I've worked at an environmental testing lab. I did a little time doing genetics research, spent some time as a product developer for disinfectants, and then I made my way up to the Bay Area to Kingsford. So I'm living in Oakland and working in the East Bay now.
By the way, go Gauchos.
Yes, go Gauchos.
That's right. So how long have you been on board with Kingsford?
A little over 2 years now, and for most of that time, I've been working on our new signature flavors products.
When you come to work for Kingsford, and obviously the parent company is Clorox, and they're huge. Is this the biggest technical company that you have worked for at this point?
Oh yeah, Clorox is definitely the biggest technical company I've worked for. I've spent time, working at smaller and medium-sized labs. I guess you could say the university would be a bigger institution, probably 3 times bigger than Clorox. But, both are really great companies and universities, lots of great technical resources, lots of great equipment. So I feel lucky to work for a place that's got all those resources available.
When people think of Kingsford, they obviously think of that blue bag charcoal. We might talk about that here towards the end of the segment. From your end of it, and you said you were spending the majority of the time here talking about the product we're going to talk about here in a second, but is it, do you get to do a lot of cooking? Like, are you a fan of live fire? Or do you not necessarily have to be, a guy that's going to be cooking in order to do what you do?
So I actually sought out Kingsford because food has always been a passion of mine. I've always tried to find a way to get food related to my career. I think kind of early in grad school, I realized that all the different things about chemistry, thermodynamics, all the tools and equipment, you really can apply to food too. So I got really interested in the science of food and cooking. And ever since then, I've been wanting to kind of get more involved in that. I think Kingsford is the perfect place to do that. When I started, I wasn't an expert in grilling, but I've been doing it for 2 years for my job pretty much every day. So I've gotten a lot better, and it's really exciting.
Greg Meyer joining me here on the show, Dr. Flame, if you will. So am I late to the party here, Greg, or are the flavor booster products fairly new to the market?
Yeah, they really are. It's
Okay.
really a really new product form, really new type of briquette. There are a couple products that you might be able to find that have tried adding flavors, but we think ours is really the way to go, and I can kind of explain that in more detail if you like.
Yeah. So, from a concept standpoint, is this something that corporate or some kind of a brainstorming trust says, how can we get something new, or is there a constant line of potentially concepted products that now are driven down to you to see if you can prove them out to something that would eventually get to market?
Yeah, it's kind of a combination of a couple of those things. We're always starting with the consumer. We always want to know what they're excited about. We always want to know what they're interested in trying. We always want to kind of give them new experiences that's really going to kind of delight them. And so we look to big trends that are happening. Flavor has been a really big trend in a lot of industries, and that really applies to grilling as well. So we knew that it was something that we thought people would like. We always reach out to them to get their feedback on new ideas and new flavors. So we knew that this was a really good kernel of an idea. We're always trying to find new great ideas, but this one had a lot of support behind it from within Kingsford, but also grillers across the country who we reach out to and send surveys to. And so once we knew that it was a really kind of promising idea, that's when it gets sent to me and R&D. And my job is really to work with the R&D team to figure out really what's possible technically. What can we make in our lab? What can we make in our manufacturing facilities? What really delivers that flavor? If we're going to call it signature flavor, it's got to really deliver. And so we make sure that the products really hit the mark. And then once we feel really good about the product, then it gets into partnerships where we work with marketing and sales and our quality teams to kind of educate our customers like Walmart or Home Depot or Lowe's, develop advertisements, really educate people about it. This is a pretty new product. It does something different than what's kind of common on the market. So we need to really let people know about it. And so R&D is involved somewhat in that process as well.
When you get your hands on the concept to now prove, how long does it take for you from when you get your hands on it to something that can be taken to market?
So it really varies a lot. I think for something like this, since it's so new to the industry and to Kingsford, this has been in development for probably 3 to 4 years at this point. I got it when it was partway through that development process. And so I've been working on it pretty closely for about 2 years now. And that development process started where we were really testing lots and different ingredients and spices. We really needed to know what burns well when you put it on a grill and what doesn't. And so it's not always obvious. I was surprised throughout the process that you can't just take a barbecue rub that might be on the shelf in a grocery store and throw that in a briquette and expect it to work. You really have to go through rounds of formulation to really design this for the heat that it would see in a grill.
So for those that aren't watching live or accessing the video feed, I was just flashing the flavors that are currently out there. Flavor boosters coming in the following options: onion, garlic, and paprika. The next bag is cumin chili, and the third bag is basil, sage, and thyme. So perhaps you kind of answered this a few minutes ago, but why these profiles versus something else? And are there future boosters in the wings?
So the answer is yes. We are working on the next round, but I'm not going to reveal those flavors yet. And these 3 flavors that we have now, it really comes down to what the consumer's excited about. These flavors are, garlic, onion, paprika. A lot of these are classic barbecue flavors. Cumin chili, you think of like Mexican cuisine and maybe Thai cuisine. Basil, sage, thyme, Italian food, French food. These are familiar and approachable flavors. These are things that people can get excited about. We're not using very obscure spices. We're using things that people are going to want to use. So that's a really big part of it, and that's what we really start with. But obviously, it also has to be something that works when you use the product. It has to smell really good. It has to add flavor when you use it on your grill.
So you're the scientist, not me, obviously, but do these boosters, or should you expect as a consumer that these boosters penetrate the meat to a certain degree, or would you say they're giving a perfuming on the exterior more than really getting up in that?
Yeah, that's a great question. And so we think about flavor in a couple of different ways. It's kind of the first is looking at the science of it. And the second is, what's the consumer experience? And so in terms of the science, there's two aspects to it. And it all starts with the smoke. This is grilling, this is barbecuing. And we looked into smoke science. And, when charcoal is burned, it releases smoke that imparts that classic barbecue flavor. That's the hallmark of grilling. A similar process happens with signature flavors, but now we've added 100% real spices to the product. These spices have a unique composition compared to charcoal, and the smoke released from the spices introduces new types of flavors into the grilling experience. By adding signature flavors to your grill, you add a new unique smoke that ultimately flavors your food. And also there is that perfuming aspect that you're talking about. That's a big part of a sensory experience. When we looked into the science of flavor, we found that flavor is really the overlap of taste, aroma, and mouthfeel. And people are generally familiar with the 5 tastes that your tongue can detect: salty, sweet, sour, bitter, umami. But what may be less common knowledge is that a lot of the nuance in flavor comes from aroma. Your nose can detect over 10,000 distinct smells. And so by burning signature flavors, you're really adding flavor to your whole grilling experience in that way. And I think the other aspect that I mentioned is, what is the consumer experiencing? A key part of how we develop these products, something that's really new like this especially, is we send out hundreds of bags of products to intermediate and advanced grillers all across the country. We really want to know if they're happy with the product, what their experience is like. And so over 85% of the people who use the products said it enhanced the flavor of their food. And we got video testimonials from a large number of people. I think of ones where someone's describing getting the nuances of that garlic and onion paprika on a chicken breast they just cooked. Or someone who had their neighbor knock on their front door asking what smells so good, but they hadn't added food to the grill yet. The aromas from these briquettes will fill your backyard. When we're testing these, we have an outdoor kind of grilling area. You can smell it 50 yards away, so it smells really good. It's almost like it's an appetizer for the meal you're about to grill.
So is a cumin smoke or a basil smoke or a garlic smoke at all similar to me biting into a clove of garlic, or are we just using the term garlic or cumin and basil just in a descriptor sense?
Yeah, so it's kind of a little bit of both. We use 100% real spices, and you can really, the aromas that you smell are really distinct. You can really tell that those ingredients there. And we use sensory panos. We get into sensory science. We have experts who are like picking out these aromas and describing them in detail. In terms of the taste, it's gonna burn. It's gonna change a little bit. It's gonna modify that smoke. So you have that aroma that provides that distinct kind of high note, and you have that modified smoke where the garlic is penetrating that smoke and changing it and flavoring your meat in that way as well.
Best practices on how to use them.
Right. So we've got 3 product forms, all of them available nationwide right now. The first is pellets. These are made with 100% hardwood and 100% real spices, and you can use them as you'd use any other pellets. You could use them in any pellet grill, including a Traeger or Pit Boss, and they work well there. Our second product form is our flavor booster briquettes, and this is really the kind of the new innovation. We have patent pending. We actually found out last week it was approved, so there's a couple steps left. I'm not a patent lawyer, so I don't know the exact details, but I'm very confident it will be finalized soon. And these come in a 2-pound bag. And these are briquettes that I like to compare it to how you'd use wood chips or chunks. So they're not meant to be the main fuel source to cook your food. You add it onto a grill that has regular charcoal to add that next layer of flavor to your recipe. That's one other thing I want to mention. When you're using these, you want to kind of prepare your food as you normally would. You're going to want to salt it. If you use dry rubs or marinades, you'll want to use that as well. And you can kind of get creative and pair it with the signature flavors version that you're using at the time. I like to think about a best recipe as something that's going to have multiple layers of flavor, that's going to add complexity and nuance, but still being balanced. And signature flavors are another layer of flavor in that recipe. And so the third product form we have is a pre-blended bag that has regular charcoal as well as the flavor booster briquettes designed to be simple and easier to use, maybe for someone who's a little more on the beginner side for grilling. Use that as you'd use any other bag of charcoal. The difference is that when you're using it, you'll get that aroma, you'll get that flavor from these new flavor booster briquettes.
Would you have a 20-pound bag of just flavor and use to cook on that, or will that overpower?
Actually, so these are designed in a specific way to control how they burn. And that's really what our patent is around. It's patenting the formulation for time-release flavor. And so we've specifically formulated it to burn differently to make that flavor as prominent as we can. You really need regular charcoal that's really designed to light quickly, burn hot, and burn long. If you try to dump lighter fluid all over the flavor booster briquettes, they might not light. You want them to burn at a lower temperature, and that's really intentional. You really need to use both together. And so that's part of the fun also. You can be creative with how many you use. Our recommendation for a typical cook is 6 to 8 of the flavor booster briquettes. But you know, when I'm testing it, I've built a whole mountain out of them, and it produced a lot of smoke. And you know, you've got to think about smoke as kind of an ingredient in your recipe as well.
Yeah.
It depends on personal taste. It depends on the type of wood. There is such a thing as too much smoke flavor, depending on what your preference is.
Greg, I don't know how much you're able to talk on this portion, but when it comes to the Kingsford Blue Bag, are there portions that the company continues to evaluate, maybe from a process point or a raw ingredient standpoint, that can continue to be improved on? Or is it one of those, hey, it's not broke, so we're not going to try and fix it?
Oh, we're constantly trying to innovate and improve our regular blue bag. We constantly change and update the formula depending on, you know, what raw materials are available at the time. It's really important that we make sure our quality standards are very high. We have success criteria for burn performance, you know, how fast it lights, how long it stays lit for, how hot it gets, etc. And that's really our goal there. We need to meet that criteria at all times. But we're also doing other things like looking at alternate materials that might be more sustainable. We're looking at different shapes that might burn more effectively, so you'll have to use less charcoal per cook. Constantly thinking about new ideas along those lines to try and improve the product. So while it is something that's been around for over 100 years, there's a couple other competitors out there, and we always want to stay ahead.
The refrain from Kingsford devotees is their love of the consistency of the product. What are the keys to keeping it so consistent if it is on a continual update basis?
I'd say the key to it is plants that are really, really well run with great people that are coming in every day and doing their best to make this a really good product. And that in combination with some of the really state-of-the-art equipment we have in our R&D labs. We are constantly getting samples from our plants, testing burn performance in a very specific way, comparing that to our competitors. We regularly get samples from all across the country, from all of our competitors and all of our plants, to make sure that each location is performing in a top-notch way and is still outpacing our competitors to make sure that Kingsford remains the market leader there.
If you are somebody that loves to cook on charcoal and you have been waiting to amp the flavor up a little bit, might I suggest the Signature Flavors product from Kingsford. This is Greg Meyer, the Dr. Flame, and I appreciate the insight and look into everything that's gone on to get this product to market and some of the other Kingsford talk as well. Appreciate it, and continued success.
Thank you so much.
You got it. There he is, Greg Meyer, Dr. Flame, right there. The lead. Whoa, wait. All right, I guess we're going to head out. The senior scientist for the Kingsford Research and Development Arm, Kingsford.com, is the website, of course. And again, the signature flavors coming in garlic, onion, paprika, or cumin and chili, or basil, sage, and thyme. Check them out. Let me know what you think. All the way back in the first hour, we led off with Rusty Monson, Salt City BBQ, talking about his trailer. And then we also had a conversation with David Parrish, the creator of Slow N Sear. Now they have grills, both kettle style and ceramic cookers, to fit that Slow N Sear product in. They have other products as well. They have not been solicited to sell yet. So let's go ahead, write down this date, 3/29/2022, and see if something happens before the end of the year as the buy continues to be on in a lot of different ways from a transaction standpoint, where other companies are buying other companies. Remember, Grilla Grills just sold recently to AOB a week or two ago. Then in the second hour, first-time guest, Mark Puente from Puente's Tijuana Tacos, PuenteTijuanaTaco.com, the website. If you're going to be here in Ohio, check out the events. Let me know if you're going to be around to check out an event, and I'll meet you there if I can. And closing out the show, Greg Dr. Flame Meyer from Kingsford, the senior scientist there in the research and development arm, talking about Kingsford signature flavors that you can get right now. They are in pellet form, they're in a smaller 2-pound bag, and then they are in a charcoal/flavor booster mixed bag in order for it to burn and flavor properly. So as I just said a couple minutes ago, go grab a bag and let me know what you think if you're into that. Big show planned for you next week. We turn to a new month. Sam the Cooking Guy will be here. Malcolm Reed will be here, amongst others. Don't forget, the end of next month, or this coming month, Season 3 of American Idol Barbecue Central Show Edition will start as well, with Jose Urquiza sitting in as the guest judge. Plenty planned for you in the coming weeks. So how do I always leave you? September 11th, 2001. I will never forget. And until next Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern, this is your program host and proud U.S. American, Greg Rempe. Good night now.
Yo, pod! This is Meat Mitch, and you're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Flop!